Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Oahu, Hawaii, it's time for Oahu Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Oahu Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, Facility Access. Without them, we could not be sharing these stories. Today on Oahu Business Radio, we have Sid Higa, and he is with Vivio Sustainable Solutions. Welcome, Sid.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Well, before we get too far into things, tell us a little bit about Vivio Sustainable Solutions. How are you serving folks?
Well, Vivio Sustainable Solutions was started just as the pandemic hit. We actually started in our paperwork March 1st. And of course, we were hit with the shutdown and everything. We initially were going to be doing water systems for small businesses to service their employees. But because of the pandemic, we had to pivot. So we have come up with a 5-point approach to dealing with COVID to helping small businesses get back to business.
So could you share a little bit about that 5-point approach?
Sure. So our first point is something that we use to detect viruses. So we have a thermal imaging system that uses artificial intelligence called Viral Sign. And what it does is it scans a face using thermal imaging like a FLIR camera, and it actually measures 18 points around the face, as well as taking a deep scan where your eyes are. And it goes all the way back to the brain. And what it does is it's measuring for imbalances in your system. So it will tell you if you're pre-symptomatic, symptomatic, or asymptomatic in terms of any kind of influenza-like illness, including the COVID-19 virus. Then to follow up with that, we have individual test kits. So we can do a PCR test kit, we can do an antigen test kit, or we can do an antibody test kit right there on site. And these test kits usually are about 10 to 15 minutes, and you'll get a result whether you're positive or not, with the exception of the PCR test. The PCR has to go to a lab in order to do that. So that's our first point. Our second point is to do sanitization. So if you had an employee that came into your office, we can go in there and sanitize with an EPA N list rated sanitizer to sanitize the office. And then we have a special antimicrobial coating that uses nanotechnology. The nanotechnology actually creates real small micro spikes. So anything that lands on top of it, such as a virus, bacteria, mold, fungus, actually has their outer layer, or their so-called skin, pierced, and it kills it on contact. So it's a mechanical kill type of a device. It lasts for 90 days once it goes on, and it's good for porous and non-porous surfaces, and it is food grade, so it is safe to use in kitchens and stuff like that. Our third point is to do air purification. We have a system that actually does, it creates, I guess you would call it a hydroperoxide or peroxide type of a solution in the air. And what it does is it kills the airborne pathogens by cell lysing. So when it comes into contact with the outside of the cell, it actually takes a little bit of time, but it'll actually burst outside of the cell, killing it within a few minutes to a few seconds. Then we have water purification, and our top of the line is to use reverse osmosis, where we remove all chemicals, heavy metals, minerals, and everything out of the water, and then we would put back in the desirable minerals into the water so that it is great tasting, and you have great tasting coffee and teas because there's minerals that can actually have those coffee molecules stick to it. Then our last point is our safe handles. Safe handles is an antimicrobial coating that goes on kind of like a masking tape. And what it does is it covers surfaces. So you can have it put onto like toilet flushes, sink handles, pushes where you're exiting a door, or where you see those handicapped little buttons, you can have them put on top of there. And this antimicrobial prevents viruses and bacteria from being transferred from one person to another. and it lasts for 6 months. And we service all of the products that I just mentioned there. So it's a complete solution to dealing with the COVID situation.
So this sounds like a pretty big pivot from just going from your initial service and product to this kind of robust, full turnkey solution. How did you pull that off? That's pretty impressive.
Well, I've been doing sustainable solutions for a number of years. I'm been in the solar industry as well as some other industries. And through my contacts, they started asking me whether or not I would carry their products. And basically that's what happened is I was able to pull together from a number of vendors, a number of people that came to me and said, hey, this will go hand in hand with what you're doing. And basically that's how we came up with our 5-point approach to dealing with COVID. We also recently partnered with Staffing Solutions of Hawaii, which also owns Kalama Nurses. And so we can also provide staffing. So if a large entity like the city and county wanted to set up vaccination sites, we could fully set up a vaccination site with pre-testing as well as doing the actual services.
So now I would imagine nowadays the demand is so high. Is this something that could enable workplaces to create that safe environment for them to get back to work, or even like the schools, I would imagine, to get back to school?
Yes, definitely. You definitely have the ability now to create a safe environment, because not only with our air purification systems, so long as they're running 24 hours a day, you're basically sanitizing everything that's in that facility. So if it's a classroom, you're sanitizing that classroom. If it's a building, you're sanitizing the building. So yes, and if somebody did come from the outside and you're kind of wondering whether or not you should let them into the office, we have those detection services where with our viral sign, they can be detected before they go into the office as to whether or not they need to be further screened with our other products, such as our antibody or antigen test kits.
Now, for some companies, this would be a pretty big shift in the way they kind of operate. Is there a way to kind of test this out, or is this something that they got to kind of take a leap of faith that hopefully this is going to work?
Well, there's companies already across the continental U.S. that are using a similar type of a system to what we've put together here. One company in particular, I think they're in Minnesota. They run a food processing plant, and they implemented the viral sign, and they came across a couple of workers that actually tested positive, they were detected positive. They were sent off to get further testing and screening, and lo and behold, they were COVID positive. Well, this saved this company millions of dollars in shutting down the production line and then sanitizing the production line and having additional workers out on sick leave because they were able to catch it before anything happened, any virus was spread to the additional workers there.
Now, in your business, this must be very rewarding work, knowing that you're impacting all these folks. Can you share a story where you're able to help a company get up and running that maybe had to shut down?
Sure. We had a company that serviced a lot of restaurants that came to us because they had an employee test positive. So we went in there, we sanitized their offices, basically gave them a clean bill of health, and they were able to go back to work, have their other employees come back to work, and continue servicing restaurants, which minimized their downtime, which saved them a lot of money.
Now, are you right now focusing on certain industries, or is this kind of industry agnostic? You can probably work with pretty much everybody, I would think.
Yes, and that's one of the key things of why we partnered with Staffing Solutions, is because we knew that as soon as the word got out, that we would be in a very high demand. So we would have to be able to backfill and support all those businesses that wanted to have our services. So the hotel industry here in Hawaii is very, very big, and they've been shut down for a very long time. And that's one of the industries that we definitely want to see get back to operation again, because that's a good 30-40% of our economy are the hotel workers, the restaurant industry that are in a lot of hotels, etc. So it's a big part of our economy here.
So now, are you seeing that kind of demand? Are you just swamped?
Well, we are getting the word out. We've met with Lieutenant Governor Josh Green a couple of Fridays ago, and he is behind our systems. We met with Mayor Rick Mangiardi this past Friday, and he is very positive about what we're trying to do here. So the word is going to be getting out here very soon, and we're going to be in very high demand. But I also want to let you know that we also have services up in Oregon. We have an office in Oregon that we have opened here recently. So we'll be servicing that area as well. But with Viral Sign, we can go nationwide with it.
Right, because these solutions will work in anywhere in the country or in the world, right?
Yes, it will.
So that must be exciting because then you can really expand this all over the place.
Yes, correct. At that point in time, we'll be looking forward to hiring a lot of people to, help us expand and stuff.
So now you mentioned that pretty much any industry can benefit from this services. Are you working on creating kind of partnerships with other folks like you do in Hawaii?
Yes. So we'll be looking for partners that can implement like Viral Sign and some of our other products across the United States. It is a very effective way for us to get everybody back to work. And that's one of the things that we're looking forward to is helping the economy get back to where it was pre-pandemic.
So now if somebody wanted to learn more, have a more substantive conversation with you or somebody on your team, is there a website?
Yes, it's www.vivioss, and that's V as in Victor, V as in Victor, IOSS.com. And they can reach out to me at Sid, SID, at vivioss.com is my email.
Well, Sid, congratulations on all the success, and we really appreciate what you're doing. You're really helping a lot of folks.
Well, thank you for having me on the show here. I really appreciate the exposure and being able to tell other people about what we're doing.
All right, that was Sid Higa with Vivio Sustainable Solutions. Definitely check them out. If you're in the hospitality industry, you better check out that website because you can get up and running. It sounds pretty quickly. This is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Oahu Business Radio.